cars and any chance I get. The location independence thing is interesting. So we had been traveling for a few years, and then in 2012, we decided to do something that at the time was a little bit different. And that was sell pretty much everything we have to be able to become 100% location independent, which basically means homeless. The reason we landed on this term, location independence, was because it's easier to say location independence when you're telling your mother. So if you go up to your mom and you're like, hey mom, I'm gonna sell all my stuff, I'm gonna be homeless for a few years, she's probably gonna freak out. But if you go up to her and you're like, hey, we're consolidating all of our possessions and we're gonna be traveling a lot more and be location independent. She was like, you guys have your life figured out, I'm so proud of you. We didn't have anything figured out, we had nothing figured out, we just got going. And we spent a long time on the road, just place to place to place. I like this is an old photo, but there's two things in the upper left, yes, upper left, I'm looking at the screen. When you are location independent, when you don't have a home base, all of your possessions have to fit into the constructs of carry-on and baggage allowance. So you can only have so many sets of clothes, shoes, and everything. Buy one jacket, leave another one. It all has to fit in those bags. That's your life. So you guys see luggage. I see kitchen, bathroom, office, living room. That's everything. And in the upper right corner, this is very important because no matter where you travel, if you're out in the desert, if you're in Liwa, or you're in the Himalayas, everybody tells you to stay hydrated. That's all lies. Stay caffeinated. Caffeinated is the answer. That is the secret to being on the road full time. Working on the road full time means that every single hotel, every single Airbnb, every single apartment becomes a base of operation. And I'd love to tell you that we're this organized, but this is the truth. It's chaos. It's chaos. It's just transferring files, doing things, packing and being on the road. This is actually what it looks like. And every time we left, we'd have to pack it up like we were never there before. We leave places really, really clean and get on the road again. And that led to being able to be in the world and just have these amazing experiences and to not have to worry about a round trip. It was always one-way trips, one way, one way, one way. It was really, really, I loved it. I wouldn't trade those memories. But after 5 years, things got busy. And in the introduction, it was described very eloquently. Everything got so busy, and we had already been doing it for so long that we felt like it's time to go home. It's time to have a base of operations, and most importantly, we wanted to raise a family. Well, that's a photo of my daughter yesterday morning. So this couldn't have happened location independent. So everything really evolves, and it's interesting because when I got into this, I remember this quote. This is such an old quote, and I remember it. Even when I was just in school as a kid, it was traveling. It leaves you speechless and turns you into a storyteller. And in the beginning, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be rendered speechless. I wanted to go to the most beautiful places in the world. I wanted to find them. I wanted to photograph them. I wanted to be there, to just capture them, to experience them. I wanted to capture them in a way that made other people want to explore, to give them that same desire that I had, to make them get out of their comfort zone, leave their house, go outside, and visit these places. And I also wanted to create images or figure out a way to create images that invoke an emotional response. In Santorini, if you've been there, you were probably there with a loved one or a friend and you have fond memories. Or if you've never been there and you see photos of it, you probably want to go there. It feels beautiful. It feels like a nice place to be. And I also wanted to find things that were just crazy, didn't exist. I wanted to find the most bizarre landscapes or beautiful landscapes and then use the elements like fog, like stars, moon position, all of these things to capture it in a way that I wouldn't say hasn't been captured before, but just sort of gave it my own style and just emoted a feeling. And truth be told, I wanted to be a traveler my whole life. I wanted to be an explorer. I used to read books all the time. I used to go through so many National Geographic magazines when I was a kid, see all these places, read all these stories, and just think, I'm never going to get to go there, and just secretly wishing that someday I could be a traveler too. And most importantly, with my photography, I want it to represent a place, both emotionally, both iconically, and also sort of just communicate what it is without me having to say what it is. I want the photos to speak for themselves. I want to find elements that describe a place, like Japan, for example, a pagoda, cherry blossoms, Mount Fuji, 3 elements of Japan that are beautiful together so you can look at it and the photo speaks for itself. I don't have to explain it. But coming back to that, 5 or 6, 7 years ago, I started to realize that it wasn't the amount of time that I was spending in these locations. In the locations, in the spot, waiting, sunrise, sunset, blue hour, stars, astrophotography, all these things. That wasn't what was propelling me to create these compelling images. It was all the things that were happening in between. It was the cultures, it was the friends I was making, it was the photographers I was connecting with, it was the reason we kept going back place over and over and over again. Yes, to get the photos, but it was because I wanted to hear stories. I was so curious, I wanted to learn. I wanted to be a traveler, I wanted to tell these stories. And I felt like with my photography, like I can show a photo and it can represent a place, a location. You stand there, this can be the location, but it doesn't tell the whole story. It will never tell the whole story of actually being there. It can't describe the food, it can't describe the culture, it can't describe how wonderful the people are. And so for a few years, I was bothered by this. And I was, how can I tell stories? How can I tell and share these stories from people, from colleagues, from friends, from photographers, people all over the world that inspired me to do what I do and continue to inspire me? So I thought, could we create a show? Could we create a YouTube series? Could we create something where I could travel and sort of show everything that's involved in these photos, but also hear from all of the people that have inspired me and helped me get where I am today? And my wife and I thought, yeah, you know, we don't know how the heck we're going to do it, but let's try. And for a few years, we kind of developed it, and we came up with a show called Moments in Time, and we were able to film 2 seasons in 2019 before the pandemic set on. So I want to share with you guys a little making of video we made specifically for exposure. Audio. Moments in Time is a huge passion project for us, and what started as a bunch of multicolored Post-it notes on the office wall quickly turned into a worldwide massive scale project. We wanted everything to be in motion, and that means we didn't just want to have sit-down standard static interviews, we wanted the show to feel dynamic.
Having the interviews be these walk-in talks also allows the viewer to be able to go through the spaces and experience these locations the same way that they did. One of the most difficult segments to shoot was in the street market in Malaysia, where Elia and photographer Yaman Ibrahim did a street shoot.
And I'm seeing a lot of parts of things are being sold.
It was so wild just following him and trying to keep up with his photography and his teaching while trying to navigate this street. Val's walking backwards with a gimbal, people are crowding and flooding around her, people are bumping into me, looking at us like, what are we doing? And it was something that we knew we could only do once.
Oh, cantik lah bang. Lama. Handsome muka cantik, cantik perempuan.
Overall, Moments in Time was one of the greatest adventures of my life, and the fact that we did it with a core team of only 4 people, that's astounding.
Naomi is an incredibly talented producer. Valentina is one of the best directors I know. I was doing my best to host and manage the interviews and basically make sure we could get place to place. And Andre, well, he was a good blend of talent and comic relief.
I knew that if I was going to be traveling the world with someone and spending so much time with someone, he better be able to make me laugh.
This is a rare, sweatered deer. Look at how he moves.
It's hard to say which guest has been my favorite, but I think that title's gonna go to Jan Gonzalez because when I walked into his studio, I really didn't know what he was gonna do.
I'm putting you in.
Why?
My set.
What?
I'm gonna glam you up. I have something special for you.
Wait. What do you mean by glam?
I had no idea that Jan had planned all these things. A wardrobe, a hairstylist, makeup artist. He even had a professional chicken on set.
It's gonna be easy, okay?
Okay.
You can do it.
All right.
All
What's
right.
the worst that can happen? The chicken attacks. No, this is the most professional chicken I've ever worked with.
Even though this is a photography show, I try to incorporate other cultural elements, whether it's food or history or an interesting experience. In Tokyo in particular, we had one. It's called the Robot Restaurant.
There is life before the robot show, and then there's life after the robot show. It is definitely one of the most unique experiences I had.
It's like a blinged out dungeon of color and weird.
They serve you food and they give you a show, complete with giant robots, spinning lasers, and pyrotechnics.
Moments in Time is a show about photography, but it's more about the people and the community. Photography is kind of an element that unites us, that can transcend cultures, religions, or beliefs. It's something that we can all share no matter where we're from or what gear we're using. We can all be part of this new story. And Moments in Time tries to amplify the voices of other people so they can tell their stories as well. So it's been a little bit of an evolution to go from travel and landscape photographer to what I'm trying to do is tell stories, help other people or amplify voices so that they can be heard, or bring stories back from places where they can't be heard. And I think what I started to land on and what I talk with people around the world about is that no matter what you're doing with it, photography can be a tool for change and not just for observation. And I kind of thought about that on the show, and I was thinking, you know, how can we make this an entertaining travel show, but how can we highlight some really important things? Some important things that my photography heroes, a lot of the people that are here at Exposure Speaking, that they work on the front line, can we help amplify the voices, empower them? Can we show the strength and resilience of the people? And this was something that Thomas Tam said to me when we were in Koh Pom Pluc in Cambodia. So I want to share that interview. A lot of these aren't rehearsed. This all happens live, and get the feeling from the photographers themselves telling their stories.
Early in the morning on my second day in Siem Reap, I met up with Thomas Tam, a Fujifilm ex-photographer and consultant to several NGOs located throughout Asia. His goal is to highlight the living conditions of impoverished children, those most in need of help, and to advocate for the education and well-being of rural Cambodians. Together with Sithi, our local guide, we journeyed to Kampong Pluk, one of the most fascinating towns on Earth, to learn about how the people live here, right at the water's edge.
Because right now the water level is very low. Do you often get to walk around here in the village?
No, this is actually my first time walking in the village, as it's usually flooded and you never get to walks like this. This is really cool.
Yeah, and then during the wet season when the water is the highest level, this is just all underwater anyway.
Yeah, all underwater.
So you can't even walk.
Diving now.
We'd be swimming through the village.
Yeah.
Thomas, so I see color and texture everywhere. But you're the master of photographing people. What to you creates the soul of the image? Is it faces? Is it the people themselves? What are you looking for here?
Storyline is important. You must have a good story. In order to do justice to the people, I must capture it truthfully to represent their voice, the plight of the people.
And that is the soul of documentarian photography, is the truth, is showing the truth in a compelling way.
Yeah. So for me, it's like my job is to study in the way whether they need any help, but usually I believe in empowerment. Empowerment is a better word to use.
Yeah.
They are very good in certain things. You look at them, they have strong coping mechanism in adapting to different environment. But what is the strength? You know, they can survive for so many years or even excel in it. So we are here. I'm looking at this opportunity to empower them to be even stronger than.
So you help amplify their own voice.
Right, yeah.
And you're trying to get that candid moment.
Yeah.
The reality
of
the
situation.
actions,
the eyes, the way they interact with a non-verbal cue. I think non-verbal cue is something that is powerful if you can capture that. So I approach them, I usually have to not stage them, unless it's portrait and it's different. But if documentary, I just approach them gently.
I like the way that these two like.
Yeah. You see, they're so focused in the work.
Yeah, they're good at
they're
it.
like, so, wow, yes, such a skilled mechanic.
When you're documenting this, how are you careful to not exploit the people or the situation?
I believe as long when they pick up the camera and we're shooting the people, we're actually exploiting them. But the difference is that, what is the purpose? If there's a purpose, driven purpose at the end, then whatever we captured, we actually help the people. But if not, if there's no intention of helping them and we captured them for the moment, for competition, for contests, that is exploitation. It's extreme exploitation to me.
That makes sense. Having a purpose, telling a story, trying to impact change rather than just looking for something for Instagram to get likes.
Right.
The visual element of it can be compelling, but it's the direction and how you use it that matters.
So it was interesting because I've been visiting Cambodia for a lot of years, and it's always been heartbreaking to me that at the orphanages, buses just pull up to the orphanages and they parade the kids around just so people can take photos of them and put them on Instagram, and then the buses leave and the kids just go back to the really poor living conditions. I've shared photos of Angkor Wat and shown the beauty of the country, but I don't know how to tell that story. But Thomas does. He's spent 8 years there. He will spend 2 years in a local village learning the people, learning them, getting to know them before he'll even photograph them. And he's working with all these NGOs around the region. So this is very inspiring to me. And the other point that he made that we talked about was exploitation. When a lot of photographers will glorify something but not get involved, they're just looking for a visual impact. And another thing too, something to think about, is intention versus attention. Why are we doing this? Are we shooting this because we just want to put it on Instagram and get some likes, or are we doing this because we actually care about it and want to do it? Those are profound to me. These are things that I'm learning by talking to my friends. And there are other things too. You know, we don't think about it all the time, but the world is not going to be there. Everything's not going to be there for us. We never thought we'd be in a global pandemic. We never thought this was going to happen. Who knew 2020, quarantines, all of this stuff, it just happened. We don't think about these things sometimes, like what can happen, especially in cities. So things that we want to photograph, things we want to talk about, we need to consider that they might not be here forever.
Oh, mana Pak? Iya, nanti nyebrang ya? Wrong way.
Okay. I feel like if you gave me a GPS coordinate for this spot,
No,
there's no way. There's no way I would have done that.
Yeah, this way. Through that blue tent, and we cross the river.
Ah, okay, I can kind of see a path.
This is the interesting one.
What's the
This is
worst
the-
that can happen?
This is the interesting part.
Instagrammers make this look really beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Please. Yeah.
Instagrammers are lying.
Okay. Yes. We made it.
Okay. So, yeah, there's the reflection spot. And this is a very, very secret local spot. This is the very local spot. Where do we set up? And is it raining right now?
No. There's a lot of mosquito.
Those are insects.
Yeah, there's a baby mosquito there.
So I was like, why am I not getting wet? And it's a bunch of mosquito larvae, so that's good to know. Now this will look kind of funny, I have to admit. And it pushes it off your face and prevents all the mosquitoes from getting in your face.
Okay. You look more handsome, right?
I look more handsome?
Yeah.
It's like a veil. The double is going to a funeral. So Jakarta is sinking.
Yes.
Why is it sinking?
The supply of the good water in the city is not proper. So the community, the people try to make their own water with pump. They pumping the water by themselves. And yeah, because Jakarta is a city with side by side with sea, right? And when you pump here, there, then you will pump the seawater come through the beyond of the land.
Wow, so that's a very dangerous problem.
I think the government have to provide the good water supply for the people who live in Jakarta.
And the solution is to move the capital. That's got to be an interesting situation. It's also interesting to me because you think that, especially cities, are going to be there forever.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a built structure.
Yeah.
It seems solid, but the thought of something disappearing, you know, whether it's from, you know, the water table moving underground or from climate change or from anything else is actually a scary thought. And as a photographer, it reminds me that I should always photograph places when I can, because you never know how things are going to change.
So you have to take photograph of Jakarta now?
Yes.
Before economy sink.
Photograph Jakarta now before it completely sinks into the ocean. Yeah, that is a sad but true rule.
So this was a funny location because I actually found it. When we go to places, it's kind of fun sometimes to just use a hashtag on Instagram. So go hashtag Jakarta and you see what comes up. If 100 photos come up at the same location, that's really easy to get to. You know, it's a hotel or something standard. And if a few images come up, You're like, okay, this has to be somewhere. So these perfect reflections were coming up, and we couldn't figure it out on the GPS. And it turns out it's like through the waste treatment plant, somebody's house, and all of these things. But it's all you really see. And Jakarta is a city that a lot of people just skip over because they go to Bangkok. But it's fascinating and horrible too that the water table is changing so fast that it's sinking. So the millions and millions of people there, they're trying to move an entire city. I don't know how many more years until some of these buildings start to sink and collapse. And I never really think about that. You go to Bangkok, Jakarta, Singapore, and stuff like that. You're thinking it's a city, you know, it's a city. New York's going to be there. These things are going to be there. It's not just our natural world that changes. So it's kind of like being a landscape photographer, a cityscape, or travel photographer. You're capturing something in the moment and where it is. And we tend to think that it will still exist. And now I'm kind of rethinking that, you know, in the period of times that we shoot things. And it's fun because, you know, these have been pretty light stories so far, and I admire the people that are out there taking risks and telling these stories. And, you know, we live in a very chauvinistic world. There is discrimination. It's hard in some areas for women to get into access where men can. You know, it's not an equal barrier of entry for all of us. And I respect the people that just push it no matter what. So this is a person
One
who's
of
taking
Manila's
risks.
most beautiful and historic places is a walled
Manila.
area within the modern city. Called Intramuros, or literally within the walls, this citadel was the seat of Spanish colonial power in the late 16th century. With its numerous churches, monuments, and abandoned battlements, the defining feature of Intramuros is a reinforced stone wall that stretches 5 kilometers around the entire area. This is where I met up with documentary photographer Alex Ongkol, a local photojournalist who has covered many stories, including the Philippine drug war and the effects of Typhoon Haiyan. Photojournalism is interesting because it has two sides. The camera is just a tool to tell a story, but you still need to understand how to compose an image to capture somebody's attention. Yeah. What's your balance of asking permission to take photos of people and then just getting the shots?
If they see you, and then you smile, if they smile back, that's mostly a non-verbal yes. They will mostly show you that they mind.
Okay, so basically if somebody starts throwing rocks at you and yells, then it's probably...
Yeah, that's a good time to go.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that. In order to tell some of these stories, you have to go to some pretty dangerous or rough places. Is it more difficult in these situations to be a woman and to try to tell these stories?
Yeah, actually, here in Manila, imagine a male photographer going inside the streets of Baseco or the slums in Manila. I mean, me going there by myself, with not knowing anyone. I mean, of course, the risk is higher. If I tell that to like my parents or anyone close to me, of course they're gonna tell me don't go inside. But then if one of my male colleagues will go inside, it's fine. It's like a deterrent.
But you don't let it stop you.
No, I've been to those places. Oh, I'll tell you how. I do have a story though. Did you know that the president kissed me?
Wait, what? The current president?
The current president, Duterte, he kissed me during his campaign. And then he told me to sit on his lap. And I was like,
what? You were in the press corps at the time?
I'm a freelance photographer, so we have assignments which candidate we're gonna follow. So I followed Duterte for a while. I could already see him like eyeing me. So every time I would move, I could see him following me. And all of a sudden, his hand broke through the crowd and grabbed mine, pulled me in, and said, well, in English, oh, I've been having the hots for you for a while. Can I kiss you? It was so crazy. I was so angry at him. I asked my editors, like, I'm not gonna shoot him.
Wow.
And I did write about it.
Do you have any advice for anybody getting into photojournalism?
Oh yeah, we need more truth tellers. We need more people who are willing to go through those places and actually see these things happening, carry the stories of those people who need their stories to be told.
We need more truth tellers. We need more people who are willing to go to these places and carry back the stories of those people that need to be told. That came out of an organic conversation with her. She didn't tell me about the president. I hope he didn't watch that episode of Moments in Time because I'm probably not allowed in the Philippines anymore. But this is so important. You know, this is what I kind of thought Moments in Time would be about. It would be about empowering voices, you know. And then you know, I met Alex, and I'm like, you know, please talk to me. I want to learn about this. But then she's bringing stories of people who don't have the ability to bring their story to the attention, you know. So this is so important, whether it's allowing people to tell stories or people are bringing stories in, you know. This is how that we're getting this out there. And she's not afraid. She's been arrested multiple times. She's been kidnapped, all sorts of things, and she just keeps doing it. She keeps doing it because she wants to help. And this is something that I learned. So 10 years as a landscape photographer, now I'm just enjoying all of these stories. You know, they're really important. But, you know, there's something else that I learned along the way. Pretty much my whole life. It might have gotten me in trouble in school a few times. And especially as a photographer, especially in a very competitive industry, everything like that, is we have to know that we should not take ourselves too seriously. Because when you start to take yourself too seriously, you don't follow your heart as much. You don't follow your inner child. You don't really create from a place of joy. You think there's pressure, it's important, but you have to be willing to sort of get out there and be a child sometimes. So, you know, this is I learned from Jan Gonzalez. When I went there, I had no idea what he was going to do to me or do for me. And he said, what do you think about circuses? And I'm like, all right. And he's like, okay, good.
My friend Jan Gonzalez lives and works in Cebu City, a highly urbanized metropolis and the Philippines' first
His work
city.
is
Jan is a
phenomenal.
prolific commercial and portrait photographer, having worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. And today, he tells me he has a special surprise just for me. After you.
Welcome, welcome.
Oh, finally made it to Cebu. Wow. Hey, everybody.
Everyone?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So this is your studio?
Yep.
This is where all those amazing photos come from?
This is my happy place.
Your happy place?
Yeah.
This is an amazing set. Now, obviously, you don't have this here all the time.
Not all the time, yeah.
What are you working on with this?
Okay, actually working on a new project from Fujifilm. It's a new camera, so I had to shoot it and have these people do BTS for me.
Oh, that's incredible. Sounds like it went really well.
We're actually not done yet.
What do you mean?
I'm putting you in
Why?
my
What?
set. Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna glam you up.
Glam?
Yep. I have something special for you.
Wait. What do you mean by glam?
I'm just gonna fix something.
Fix something?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah.
that.
kickstarting my modeling career.
Body can dress to impress, no stress, though they're waiting. I keep them waiting. Makeup on fleek, high heels, ripped jeans, they're all waiting. I'm on my way. Looking in the mirror at myself like who that? Pull up to the party like my name is the life. Look in your eyes, you can't hide it. Oh baby, I know I turn you on.
You look great. This is exactly what I expect.
Well, that's funny, because I didn't expect this at all.
Oh, this is gonna look cool. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pose you. Can you stand like to your left?
Okay,
Yeah,
so facing
body.
this.
Yeah, facing
okay.
this. Camera will be right over there.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, no, you have to tell me what to do.
No, I'm gonna tell you from there. Okay.
Okay.
So it's gonna be easy. Okay.
Okay.
You can do it.
All right. What's the worst that can happen? The chicken attacks. No, this is the most professional chicken I've ever worked with.
Looking regal, Laya.
Oh, I mean, I've never really tried to look regal before. Maybe there's like a toolkit to practice my regal in the morning. Well, I'm here being regal. What are you doing with these lights? How are you setting
Okay,
this up?
I have a spot here, and I want to make sure that you're inside a circle
Okay.
of the spot. So I'm just trying to fine tune.
You know what I do to prep my shots?
Why?
I just check the weather.
Okay, let's do some head variations now. We're looking to your left, looking to your right, looking down.
I know. Your turn is next.
Turn your head a little bit.
How much of what you're doing right now is experimentation?
Well, actually, it's more of perfecting your form. I'm just getting the right expression from you. Look at the chicken. I think he's tired of facing towards you.
Chicken malfunction. You've got two uncooperative models.
Yeah. A couple of more poses for this one, and then I'm gonna change up the lighting to more dramatic. It's gonna be more backlit, so...
Okay, so more backlit makes more drama.
More drama, more shadow. This will be your main light now. Okay, so I'm getting rid of the spot. I'm not using the spot now, so it's gonna be like 4 light setup.
Okay.
2 for rim, 1 from the top, which is also lighting the background a bit, and then this is your main light.
Got it. Yeah. Whew, so happy. Ah, it looks amazing. I gotta say, it's a lot harder work being evil than I thought.
Yeah.
I gotta stand still for a long time.
I think it's a wrap for today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
After completing the shoot, Jan pulled me over to his computer so I could finally see the results. Here's an example where you might like me in the position, but the chicken's being, he's not cooperating at all. Would you combine 2 photos together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect example of the one where I transfer the light like below you and it's showing the frame. There's no other way to get that perfect lighting on your face except for that spot there. So I had to get one shot without that light.
So you're basically going to use the foreground of this.
Yes.
And then you're going to combine it with the lit version.
Lit version, and then that's it. It wouldn't take like 2 seconds in post. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I started the day, I had no idea this was going to happen. And now I'm happy it did because these images are amazing. This is going to be like the best profile photo ever.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to that.
Facebook maximum level.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because when I watch presentations all over the world, I get to work with a lot of amazing people and good friends, and storytelling comes in different forms. And I think when we get into photography, whether it's for storytelling or not, that we kind of fall into our own way of describing things. And some of the amazing photographers here in the conflict zones, how they're getting in there and displaying this and then telling the story in their way. You're not going to see this from 2 different people the same way. And I think that's what's amazing about photography. And for me, it's always been my whole life is tell a joke or a little bit of humor, you know, break the ice, but to always just ask people about their work. And so Jan was nice enough, like he is sharing his knowledge and how he creates these photos. And if you go to his website and you look at his work, it's unreal. I mean, he's inspired me for 10 years. And getting to work with people like that and learning more about them and then learning more about the Philippines and the culture, it was really, really nice. And again, it's stepping outside your comfort zone. I'm willing to look ridiculous to be, you know, to make it interesting on camera. And I think, you know, it's important. That's what I mean. You know, follow your inner child. Don't be afraid to do things that would otherwise make you uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not a very good model, but, you know, it'd be a good Facebook profile or something like that. And I think that that's it. You know, photography sometimes feels like it's a solo activity, especially landscape photography. Sometimes we're out of the nature and we're by ourselves. And there's some spirituality to that. You know, there's some connection. It's nice to be in the nature. It's nice to be alone. We're telling stories of a landscape with people all over the world. I feel like photography has become this universal language. And we say that all the time, right? Photography is a visual language. It's a universal way that we can communicate. And I think that's also correct, but I don't think that fully encapsulates what photography is to me. Photography is a universal language that has transcended borders, religions, beliefs, cultures, landscapes, everything. It has allowed me to make bonds and lifelong friendships with people all over the world. It becomes a universal language of a shared passion, something that we all love and we all want to talk about. It's the reason you guys are all here today, because you love photography. It's amazing. So it's given me a lot. I hope this series, you know, gives back a little bit. I just want to help people tell stories. I want to teach people how to do what these people do, and I want to inspire people to travel and maybe help change the world themselves. So this is me today. I mean, next year, I'll have more to show because it keeps evolving. And I think that's the important thing. And I've been having all these great conversations. When I'm here, all we did was just decide we wanted to travel. That's it. You know, it was one step. It was a big step, but it's one step. All you have to take to make something happen in your life is to just leave the house. Take a step towards it. And then you take another step. You get into photography, just start taking photos. Don't worry about the business, just take photos. And that's it. Things come. You just have to be passionate. Go with all your heart. And we can all be part of this new story. I truly believe that. But a very, 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 very important quote that I want to leave you with, and I want you to really consider is, this is the most professional chicken I've ever worked with. And his name is Ray if you ever need to book him. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Elia, for those stories of your travels around the world. And yes, that was some chicken.
He's great.
Ray the chicken. At 3 o'clock, please come back, and I will be joined by Neil Bailey, who's going to tell us stories about his travels around the world. So please join us again at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much.